In this video, I'll be discussing whether or not I believe Blitz Royale should receive new maps like Reload or should continue receiving map updates. If you guys happen to enjoy this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing and using code WATSOG in the Fortnite item shop. And yeah, let's get straight into the video. So recently it was announced that in about a week or two, we are going to be seeing the Blitz map have like an entire chapter 4 takeover. And that has got me wondering, would it be better if Blitz just got new maps in general, or would it be better if they kept doing what they're doing and just kept adding more POIs onto the map? Now, in my opinion, I think we should get new maps, and I'll kind of delve into that in a bit. But yeah, I just don't really think the new POIs really work as well. The thing with the new POIs is, especially with Mega City, it is so different from the rest of the map, and the map is so small that it just kind of feels really out of place. So Mega City being there just kind of makes the map feel like a mess, whereas something else like the normal Battle Royale map, you know, it's really big, so it can kind of diversify itself a bit more. It can have a bit more variety in its locations and how they look aesthetically. But the Blitz map is not that big, so it kind of has a bit of like a clash when it kind of comes to that. Like, for example, let's say I take the actual original Chapter 4 map. There was a lot of variety on that map. You know, you had the Mega Biome, you had the Jungle Biome, you had the kind of like medieval Autumn Biome, and then you had like the kind of like resort POIs from Chapter 4 Season 4. They all kind of, well, yes, they didn't really fit together aesthetically. They were spread out enough to the point where it wasn't a big deal because there was a lot of space. They could all fit. But with the Blitz map, there's only like 3, 4, 5 POIs, and like only like 2 of those are really big POIs, right? So when a big chunk of your map just doesn't fit in aesthetically, especially with like how the like actual pieces look, like Mega City uses Chapter 4 pieces and like the rest of the map uses Chapter 1. So it just doesn't really fit that well in my opinion. And I actually think that what they're doing with the Chapter 4 takeover is them trying to kind of switch into making like new maps instead of just adding new POIs onto the map, because it's functionally an entirely new map. Like, sure, yeah, Blitz Mega City and the Oathbound Citadel are still there, but they are Chapter 4 POIs. Not technically, because they're technically new POIs, but they're Chapter 4 based POIs. So I think that having them kind of make a whole map themed around Chapter 4 definitely makes it feel better, because it'll just all look like it meshes together well, instead of having like mostly Chapter 1 and then a big chunk of it be Chapter 4, you know? And I actually think after the Chapter 4 week is over, I think it would be a good idea for them to bring back the original Blitz map, the one with retail on it instead of Mega City and no Citadel, and just have that as a rotation with the Chapter 4 map, you know? I think that would be a good, solid idea, you know? And we already know this works because Reload already does this. Reload has 4 maps already that are all pretty different, and they work because they stick to a theme. Because Reload, again, doesn't have a big map. It is bigger than Blitz map, but it's still not that big. So it doesn't really get away with having like an aesthetically differentiating map as well either. So when you have these smaller maps, you know, I think Reload does the right thing where it has a map completely themed around one kind of like theme. You know, we have the Chapter 1 S map with Venture, which is actually the basis for the OG Blitz map, you know, because that is just a small version of the Venture Reload map at the end of the day. Then we have Oasis, which is basically themed around the Chapter 1 Desert, which, you know, I think works really well, even if Oasis isn't my personal favorite map. Then we obviously have Slurp Rush based on the Chapter 2 map, which works as Chapter 2 map is a very, at least in the early stages, a very boring kind of like aesthetically map. Just very same, very green. So I think that actually works very well for a Reload map because it's smaller and it kind of condenses itself. Whereas one of the weaknesses with the original Chapter 2 map was that it just kind of felt the same everywhere you went, you know? There wasn't a lot of variety. And then obviously we have the Squid Game app, which is themed all around Squid Game. It has a consistent theme, you know, with like the fake buildings and stuff. Like, it makes sense, right? And I think if Blitz were to switch to that kind of model of making maps, I think it would be so much better. And you could probably even have more maps in rotation at the same time, right? Because matches are only like 5 minutes, maybe every 10 minutes instead of having it be like every 15 or 20, whatever it is in Reload. Every 10 minutes, you have a new map to play on, right? And obviously, we do have a problem with there only being 2. Well, not 2 yet, because the Chapter 4 takeover hasn't happened yet, but there will be 2 maps for Blitz, right? We'll have the Venture one, which I'm going to call the OG one because it's the same as the Venture Reload map. And then we have the Chapter 4 one. So we only have 2 maps. So I think it would be a good idea for them to just take all the other Reload maps that we have and just shrink them down. Make them into like Blitz maps too, alright? Have an Oasis one, have a Slurp Rush one, and then have a Squid Game one. Alright, I think that would be very, very good. you know, very healthy for Blitz. Just makes it feel even more refreshing, makes it feel like even more varied, you know, because you're playing on a new map like every 2 games. So I think that's part of the reason why Reload is still like very popular, because it has multiple maps that keep refreshing. I think that fast-paced game mode benefits from having multiple maps and not just having one stagnant map that changes like every few weeks, right? So I think Blitz would definitely benefit from having multiple maps instead of just having POI changes on the map, you know, in my personal opinion. I know I feel like I might get a bit of disagreement on this one, because I do remember people like being really excited when the map got changed. But in my personal opinion, I would prefer if they made new maps entirely like they do with Reload, instead of just adding on to the existing map, right? For Battle Royale, adding onto the existing map works because that's a big map. So you can get away with having like the same map but add variety. Because, you know, there's so many POIs, especially the Chapter 6 map. There's like 20 or so POIs you can land at. Like, this map is really big. So you can always have like a varied experience. But with Blitz, alright, it's like 5 POIs. So you're basically going to be landing at the same 5 POIs every game. You can land at every POI in Blitz and play out a full game and win in a single hour, right? So, not even a single hour, like 30 minutes, now I think about it. That's kind of crazy, right? So I just think, you know, Blitz would definitely benefit from having new maps in the rotation over map changes. So, that's my opinion on it. That is my 2 cents, I guess you could say. If you guys happen to enjoy that video, consider leaving a like and subscribing and using code WATSOG in the Fortnite item shop. And yeah, see you in the next one. Later.